decided to occupy the building. I was the one to announce the voting. So I was like, who's in favor? Stand up. And like 1,200 people stood up at the same time, like screaming of joy. And actually we get there and the first thing we see, it's a police car, like right in the middle of the square. And we're like, fuck, they know everything.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rational Optimization Podcast. My guest today is Cesare Dalbagno. We had an amazing conversation. It was super interesting. We didn't really went so deep into his goals as I planned to, but it was pretty fast. He started to tell a story of how he was the leader of occupation of his school in Italy, and this was super interesting. Like, I had goosebumps all the way through, and yeah, I really couldn't stop listening. I really highly recommend listening to this. Yeah, enjoy. Okay, man, you were studying cognitive science and artificial intelligence. What made you come here? Like, what was the process that made you start this?
This is actually an interesting question.
Yeah.
So back in August 2021, I just was like having my summer in Italy, pretty chill. Have a lot of free time, as one does in summer. And I stumbled upon this article which was scientifically proving the non-existence of free will.
Okay.
And that was something so far from anything I had ever thought before that like it struck me like a train just coming in front of me. It's like I couldn't believe like you could question. And actually the argument was very, very convincing to the point that right now I'm not a strong believer in free will.
Yeah.
So the article was making such a good point that it forced me to spend like a week in August. So all my friends were partying, going out. It was full summer. I just closed myself inside my room, turned on the AC, and started researching on this field. I went through philosophy, and then I started digging a little bit deeper. I found out the old domain of cognitive sciences, artificial intelligence, thought like all that stuff was so fascinating and so full of new things to discover that still has to be discovered, that I was like, if I have to study something for the next 3 years, I wanted to be this thing. Because like for that week, I didn't even feel that I was studying anything. And like at the same time, when I went back to school in September and I had to go back to Latin and Greek and all the kind of stuff, I was like, no way, this is taking me time away from what I really want to do, which is studying consciousness and AI. And so yeah, I started researching on programs which have this joint property, so like both containing AI and cognitive science, because I think it's very interesting to approach intelligence both from a computational and from a biological point of view. And actually there are not that many. Maybe right now I think there are a bit more than when I started looking for. For example, the year after I started my bachelor here, I think they started one of the first AI bachelors in Italy, which was not a thing back then. So yeah, I started looking around. I found, of course, I tried to apply to MIT. It was a nice experience.
Yeah.
Very nice experience. Got rejected, but
too bad.
And actually, like through social media, I found that Julia was studying here.
You knew Julia before?
We were part of the same association, as like we were both part of a volunteering association, international volunteering association called CISV, which stands for Children International Summer Village. Second association devoted to peace education. So the main point is that like it was born back in the 50s during the Cold War, and the main idea is that if you put a bunch of kids together during summer, doing activities and reflecting on the meaning of those activities, they will be less likely once they grow up to fight each other, basically.
So from different countries. So
Yeah, from all over the place, all over the world.
Yeah.
I think now there are more than, I'm a bit outdated, but more than 60 countries are part of the CSV association for sure.
Okay, and that's where we met Giulio?
We met Giulio, he was from Padova. So like in Italy there are 14 chapters, so a lot of cities have CSV in their, in there. And he replied to my story. He was like, yeah, I know about a bachelor in cognitive science and artificial intelligence here in Tilburg. He helped me out with the MIT application, and then like that failed, so I came here. And actually, I was a bit frustrated at first because like, you know, you kind of put time and effort into that, then you get rejected, and they don't even tell you why. It's just like, you're not in. The email is just like either in or not. And but then like actually coming here, I see that I try to see the positive aspects of it, and actually a lot of doors have opened in front of me. So I don't regret my choice, not even once. Like I don't know. MIT would have been a totally different experience, but I feel like I'm in the right place and at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, so that's good.
What do you have to do to apply to MIT? It's like
back then when I had to, you didn't have to do SAT, but I think now it's a prerequisite because I was still in the Corona period.
What is SAT again?
SAT is like a standard, I think, American test on logic, math, and text comprehension.
Okay.
So I didn't do that. Also because I think that the first spot available for me would have been in Istanbul or something.
Yeah.
It was very, like, some friends of mine who wanted to do the test actually flew to Turkey to sit the test and then came back to Italy.
Yeah.
But they're now studying in Milan, so like there was no point of it. just a big overkill. It was like no reason for that. And then you have to do a lot of essays, like short essays. So I remember for sure one way in which you have contributed to your community.
Okay.
That is one. And then one hobby / passion of yours and what makes it so special, kind of. Of course, why do you want to study here? So, trying to analyze like why this course, why you, and kind of this stuff. And then, the biggest challenge you have faced and how did you overcome it?
Damn, interesting.
I think that there was one. How did your experience shape your goals? Something like this.
Okay,
and each of these were around 500 words.
Okay, and then that must be exhausting for them. They read all of them.
That's the point. I'm also the reason why I'm not so frustrated anymore. I don't know if this is completely correct information, so little disclaimer.
Yeah.
But I read on my iBook that like a lot of I think they were citing MIT that a lot of application processes basically before actually going into the application match the profile of the applicants with the most successful outgoing students. So if you have a profile which is matching kind of with what they had when they applied to MIT, you have a higher chance of getting selected.
What does profile mean? Where you come from, your gender?
Exactly, like the high school you've done, like the high school you have attended, your SAT score, like how many languages, like the kind of curriculum.
Yeah.
So like they're kind of trying to
the stuff that you don't have to read, like
and I think that like very, very few people from Italy actually got into MIT, especially for the bachelor, and like even fewer from classical studies, you know. So I was doing this big jump, but still, it was very cool. Like the questions were nice.
Yeah.
I spent some time working on them, and also it was kind of the first time. No, not really. But like written, maybe yes. Maybe it was the first big application, like written application that I've gone through in my life. So it's kind of training, you know, like it really helps you to go through these processes. Throughout your career, you will have to face a lot of application procedures. And I'm trying to keep at least one per year, like one challenging one per year. So for example, last year I prepared a bunch for some summer schools. And this year I'll probably apply to an internship. So like if you keep in the process, like you learn how to value yourself, you learn how to write down stuff in a way which is appealing, which is relevant, a lot of good qualities in what you're doing.
Okay, so you do like one application every year just to see like.
I try to, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, of course, it's kind of aligned with my career goals and everything.
Not random.
Not random.
Of course.
But you know, it's like even sometimes I even try like very hard ones, just for the fun of it. You know,
Okay.
like I don't expect to get accepted. I just want to go through it and try my best and see what happens.
Damn. I have to think about this. That's maybe a good reason to do it. Like I have, there are like, how do you call it when you get money for studying? Like
scholarship.
Scholarship, yeah, exactly. And there are like German scholarships, and I was like, should I like apply for it? And it's like a lot of work and stuff, and it's like super slim chances, like only 5% or something get taken. But if you see it like this, it's maybe just even like worth it just to try, just to get into the process and
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like if the prerequisites are the work you put in and like how you frame it and like how you display yourself and this kind of stuff, that is good. But there are a lot of applications which like take into account factors which you have no control on. So that's a bit less relevant to the goal of.
So at least one way you have a chance. Yeah. Okay. Tell me, like this article about free will. Did you come back to it, or was it just like this? Like
I think I came back to it last year after introduction to cognitive science. I mean, I came back to it iteratively.
Yeah,
So.
it can just also be the whole question. It doesn't have to be, about free will.
So, yeah, I mean, now I'm pretty convinced that. So I have opposing views. Like I have a little conflict in myself as well for this. So one side of me is very little convinced. So like looking at the evidence, our world seems to be deterministic, at least at a macroscopic level, and so it's very hard to like include two possible different outcomes inside of your brain. So like one, like from each action derives one single consequence, and this like chain, you cannot really break it. On the other side, we know that, at least we kind of know, I don't know how to say that, that on quantum level there exists randomness. So there is some level of uncertainty, and even, which is I think the key idea here, state of entanglement, in which like one thing could be A and B at the same time, and you have no way to tell if it's A or B till you actually measure it. So that's the whole idea of free will, right? So I could take one decision or another, and it makes no difference because I'm free to do this.
I don't know. I thought about this as well. Do you think that if it's random, is it really free will, or is it just like?
Again, yeah.
It's like another way of deterministic. Like I don't have free will of which side the coin lands on. Like it's even if it's random. Like,
Fair. Yeah. This is another layer of complexity that you can add. But also, I came to the conclusion that what matters to me the most right now is my experience. So I don't really care if free will actually exists. Like if I have enough illusion that is there, you know, like we're in this game, let's just play the game. If we're playing poker, I'm not gonna like try out some blackjack moves, you know, like let's get rolling. You know, this is the thing. Of course it's interesting to have this kind of meta-analysis, and as we were discussing before, to actually understand reality, I think like understanding itself and perception and consciousness is the first building block, you know? Like without that, how can you start thinking about physics? Because everything might be biased. Like you could have like this kind of like your all reasoning could be wrong, and you could have to take into account many factors that you're not considering and that are making your mathematical proof worthless just because like your thoughts are not the way you think they are.
Yeah. Okay. What are your goals? What are you?
So okay, I think there are 2 layers,
Yeah.
like 2 levels to answer this question. So my main goal, like the big one, is experience.
Mm-hmm.
Experience itself. And there are several reasons for this. So first of all, as we were saying before, I think that like if you think about it, consciousness is all we have. Like everything we feel, we perceive, we do, we think, we do it throughout this like mirror lens, call it as you wish. So like I think that since we have a limited amount of time here, and I mean at least this is what I believe, and God knows what happens after death, you know. I want to make out of this limited amount of time the most I can. So I want to try out different stuff. I want to, see the world, travel, feel deep feelings, sensations. Make it experience as wide, as broad, as deep as possible. And one very cool aspect of this goal is that you will never reach an end.
Yeah.
I think a very big problem with a lot of goals is like, what if you reach it? What if you get there?
Yeah.
Then there's like this huge breakdown. There's a good podcast by Andrew Huberman on dopamine, and like he mentions that, for example, a lot of athletes say that, okay, my life goal is to win this tournament, or like to win the marathon, like be the first. Then one day you train so hard, you put the effort, you put the will, you actually do that. And you see that a lot of people, like top notch, so like first in the world, ranked first, after that one big achievement, they completely lose track. There are very, very few people who reach the top and can stay on top.
Yeah.
So like once you win, like for example, I have this good example. Actually, you might know him, is Dominic Thiem.
No, I don't know. But
okay, he's an Austrian tennis player, and he won the U.S. Open, which was his goal since he was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
He was ranked like I think either 1 or 2 back then, like one of the best tennis players in the world. Right now, I don't think he's in the top 100. And like after that win, which I think happened even before COVID probably, he was never able to reach the top 50 anymore. So like you see there's like this big curve. This is just a side note, but
yeah. So to summarize, it's just, so if I understand you right, goals that you can reach can have like the problem. If you reach them, then it's like done. So
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like nice to have like a big goal that you can just pour all your effort in. I really agree, by the way. It's like one of my goals is like this as well. And it's like I don't think I can ever reach it. And it's like just go all in and and see.
Yeah, exactly. So like another thing which is interesting about this is that I think that the nature, and this is a thought that I had in the last week, the nature of human beings. So like the reason we ask ourselves questions is just to and like the whole nature of curiosity in the human being is not because we are actually looking for an answer. We're looking through being in the process of seeking something. Like what keeps us moving, what keeps us alive, what keeps us evolving, and I don't know, like getting smarter, getting more robust to predators first, and then it was weather conditions and diseases, all this kind of stuff. Like, why are you still here? Yeah, because you were able to survive and reproduce, right? You were able to let your genes pass to the next generation. And if you have nothing to seek, if you just stay still and do nothing, probably someone else will reproduce instead of you because you were not seeking a mate to reproduce with. Or same, like probably if you're not always seeking something and like in a very different domain, so like very different tasks. This is like the main point of intelligence itself, right? The capacity to adapt in different environments and extract favorable situation out of adverse conditions, even, I think, at least.
Yeah.
If you don't have this capacity, or if you don't keep it trained enough, when something changes in your environment, then those people who kept like curiosity alive, who explored different ways of solving problems and all this kind of stuff, will have a huge advantage on you, which just was laying there in bed doing nothing. And or like even I don't know, doing your thing, you might, I don't know, grow vegetables and be very happy about it, but then like floods come, all your vegetables are dead. What do you do?
Yeah.
You know, like you need this kind of seeking and diversification, because if you were actually satisfied with something, that would be your death, kind of.
Yeah, so it's human instinct to try to grow. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, exactly.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel this instinct. It's really strong in me. Like, I feel so uncomfortable if I stagnate. Like, it's so, yeah.
That means you're working well. I think,
yeah.
at least for also there are some theories about this as well. There are a lot of theories, a lot of interesting literature. It's a good
Yeah.
field to be in. You know, psychology, cognitive science. It's evolutionary theory, all this kind of stuff. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
I only answered the first level of the question.
Keep going.
For the second level.
So about your goals.
Yeah.
The first one is to have as much diverse, deep experience as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so like the second goal is the one which is more aligned to day-to-day problems and more grounded into society. And to reach that, first of all, it's not as crystal clear as experience. And I think it also changes much faster. So like every year, kind of every month, I have a slight variation on this goal. It wasn't the same. I'm kind of always adjusting. And that is creating, now I added the AI part. So like creating AI projects which have an impact of society, on society and the community around me mainly. So like what I really, really like is to think. So like first have a vision, solve the abstract problem of how to get there. So like visualize the steps and try to take them and like iteratively improve the process. And then actually start from an idea and see how that idea impacts the community around me. I think that's something super cool. Like, I have nothing else to say about it.
Yeah.
Is it-
What does it mean? So you try, you try to make positive impact through creating something.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
So you want, like, now it's with AI, as you said. So
Mhm.
because this is like your area of study, area of expertise, and so do you have like a specific product in mind or something, or is it just that you want to find something? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, as I said before, it's not as clear as the
Yeah.
first one. So I don't have a big project for the future. I can tell you what are the probable next steps.
Yeah.
So yeah, first of all, just to clarify 1 second, I think that the very interesting thing is, okay, so you have a crowd, you have a group of people, and you want to bring that group of people from A to B. Oh, sorry, from A to B. So, like, you want them to realize something, to grow under some aspects. How do you do that? And you cannot just, like, take them and shake them or like move them or act them directly. There's no, like, physical way to do that. Okay. So it's, I think, creating a project, an activity, if it's in the if it's in the short term, something which will help them to achieve something by their own. So you're not ordering them to do something. You're just putting them in the right conditions to realize what you want them to realize by themselves. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. When it does, it's absolutely amazing, stunning, incredible.
So is the underlying goal to make positive impact to people, or what is, like, yeah, like, what?
I used almost the same words. So, like,
Yeah.
having a positive impact on society.
Okay.
Then I was like, bro, that's so wrong. So, first of all, positive, it would be like, says who? Positive for whom? Like, there's no objective way of defining what's positive. One thing I've noticed, though, during during my whole short life, like 20 years of life,
Yeah.
right now, is that the best things happen when people feel at their place. So, like, they're doing what they should be doing. They're doing what they like, what they're passionate about. So, like, if you make everyone inside of a community be responsible for what they do and contribute in their own individual way, and you make them feel like their individual contribution is actually changing and improving the community around them, and they're impacting in their own way what's happening all around them, that is the point in which a community becomes something more. So there's no more a leader and some other people, like, working towards that vision, which is cool. It works. It works very well in a bunch of different environments. And there's no, like, complete anarchy or something. Like, you really have to feel like if you fuck up, like, the whole community would be affected by your behavior as well. So it's very important also responsibility. Sometimes if we want to get a lot of engagement in a community, we tend to let the people as free as possible to do whatever they want. But that's actually counterproductive. So you think, like, okay, yeah, you can, I don't know, you can do this, but you can even do your own thing. It's not a problem, stuff like that. So, like, if they don't feel involved, if they don't feel responsible for what they're doing, they won't give a shit, basically. And that's completely reasonable. So from that point, my big goal in life is to make as many people as possible achieve the condition in which they can freely choose for themselves. So like they have no, I think especially like for example economic but even psychological, even like educational like walls which prevent them to choose what they actually should be doing at that point of their lives, which I think happens a lot, unfortunately.
Okay, so the goal is still, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
It's like, okay, the goal still basically is to make a positive impact in society, but positive is super hard to say, like, okay, yeah, positive impact, what is positive? So increasing people's freedom, but also people's agency and people's like making people feel important, like that their actions matter. Like this is, you try to achieve this, or you try to just like the last part, the maximum freedom for people, or
no, yeah, all of this, yeah. I think that like empowering, yeah, basically, yeah. I think that's a good summary.
Why?
Okay. I have another good story for this.
Okay, very good.
So you weren't there, but actually one of the first digression talks,
yes,
like one of the projects we're hosting at the study association I'm the chair of, which is Enigma, here in Tilburg, for cognitive science and artificial intelligence related
very
events.
amazing people. Yeah.
cool guys.
Yeah.
So one of the first talks was about the time in which my school decided to occupy the building. So it's a way of protest, and
the teachers or
the students. So basically, the students in high school were like, there were a bunch of reasons, actually, pretty serious ones. So like, for example, we have a thing in Italy which is called school working experience, kind of. And two guys died that year because they were forced by the state to work because of this project, because it's mandatory, you have to do it at school. But there were not enough security measures, and basically every time these things are done, most of the times these things are done, they're not done with the right training of the students. So they happen to do even like quite dangerous works without being informed of the risks and without having the all knowledge and expertise that they would require. So on top of that, we just had 2 years of COVID. Our social life was basically reduced to the bone, or kind of. We didn't feel like we belonged at school anymore. So it was like we couldn't go out of the class during the break. We had to wear the mask all the time. We didn't even have how do you say, like the person which stays at desk next to you. Like we were all in single desk all the time. It was very alienating experience. So like I happened to be a school representative back then. So it was a lot going on for me, because like if your school decides to occupy, first of all, is a failure, because you weren't able to mediate between their needs and the institutions which have the power to change things as the students would like. So like if they arrive to the point in which like they are so frustrated that they want to occupy the school, then you basically weren't good at doing what you were doing. Or at least I see it that way. And I saw it that way at that time. So first of all, of course, when you find yourself in that position, it's very hard to act because you don't know what side to take. Should I, in the process of occupying the school, because like we had huge organization. So like we started from, I think 3 months before, meeting every week, 150 people.
Did the school knew that you were gonna do this, or was it like
No.
secret? Damn! Holy
No.
shit!
The whole point is that because like if the school knows, they will call the police probably, and you won't be able to actually do the thing, because they will block the entrance or like prevent you from doing that.
Yeah.
So the whole point is like you have to organize, but you have to organize in a way in which no one knows apart from the students. So and in that specific like situation, I was speaking to almost 150, 200 people, which were the most involved in the process every week, and I wasn't. This. So like in those collectives, in those reunions, like how should I approach the thing? Should I keep a more institutional voice, or should I speak for myself as an individual? I opted for the first one. So I tried to be as as institutional as possible. I tried to mediate till the end. And actually it was very, very cool experience. It's like,
Yeah, tell me the story. It's super interesting, man. I wanna...
So yeah, first of all, we started discussing about the topics which we wanted to protest against. And after enough awareness about these topics was reached, then we started to ask ourselves
Within the group, or
like the whole goal was to make, because like even 200 people looks like a lot of people,
yes.
but in a school of more than 1,400 people is still the minority, right? So from the beginning, the key word was participation. So like our idea is that if we don't get at least like 90% of the people to be in favor of this thing, at least this was my view, we're not gonna do this. Like I'm gonna prevent this from happening, because still like you're doing something which is very, very strong, which is not only protesting against the authorities, but like even if it's a 50-50 condition, you're basically preventing 50% of the school to go and do what they should do. And in a situation like this, in which you want to protest against the conditions of students, if the authorities, like if from an outside perspective, they see that the school is split in half, the message won't be as powerful. Like to actually have your message pass, you have to be united in that condition, in the protest you're doing. So like, yeah, first of all, it was participation, and it was very cool because like we had to reach out to everyone, but at the same time we couldn't let the teachers know.
yeah,
So there was like this word passing, reunions, like there was this kind of feeling that everyone knew it was gonna happen. Like people looked at each other in the corridor and were like, you know, right? And like, yeah, I know. Like, and then like this whole thing built up to like we created something big. So we had 1 week of activities. We had almost 40 hosts per day. No, sorry, 40 activities per day. So 20 in the morning, 20 in the afternoon, with around 10, 15 people from outside coming in. So there were like majors from neighboring cities, like big cities, politicians. There were...
During the occupation?
Yes.
Okay, so you occupied the school. How does this work?
How does it work?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So basically, okay, sorry, I forgot to mention one thing. It's like we met for 2 months. We had everything planned out, everything organized. And we voted, of course, the majority, like, I think 100% of the no, not 100%. I was against it till the end. But like 99% of the collective was, of course, in favor of the resolution. Now, there were some people which kind of defended my opinion as well. So it was more than 95%. Then we voted inside of the classes. So like one of the things which I really fought for was that in each class there was gonna be a poll, and from that poll we would have had a more comprehensive view on what was gonna happen, and that also reached like 95 to 98% in favor. So it was like, you know, it kind of hits you like in that specific, like when I received the outcome of that poll, I was like, okay, so I am an institutional figure, but my first duty is to represent students. And if 90%, 98% of the student component wants that thing, maybe I should start actually also defending that thing a bit more. I mean, I was one of the people who planned and actually worked for it the most. So like, I was kind of, we shouldn't do it. To say like, okay, students don't know what they want. They're playing games that which they don't really know the rules about. They're playing, they want to be treated as adults, but they cannot even organize themselves. And like, you know, if you have good points and everything, you want the thing to be as smooth as possible so that no one can criticize you, basically. And you have like all the rights in the world, because you're also doing, oh, I forgot to mention, an illegal act. So that's totally legal. Basically, everyone who participates in the occupation could be legally persecuted in Italy. And so this was the premise. So actually, we had a very smart way to put this, because like to occupy the school, you basically have to enter and control all the entrances and the exits, so that only people who you want to enter and exit the building, basically. And those are like only students enter, professors and other people go out. Police doesn't enter and everything. We had everything planned. Like we knew who was gonna do what, at what time, where to go, how to block things. Like we had everything planned to perfection. So like the day comes. Actually, like there is so much to tell about this thing. So like, I mean,
so I want to hear it. It's okay. Worst case, we just talk about this and we make another podcast. But it's so fucking interesting. Keep going.
So like in the weeks before that, while we were meeting, we have been approached by the police undercover a bunch of times. We're asking like, okay, what are you doing here? Because it's an illegal thing. Like they want to prevent these things from happening. So like we will meet in the park, for example. So
with 200 people. Yes.
200 people. Not the like
No.
most not obvious thing to do, but the fucked up part is that like for a week before and like the week during the occupation, my phone, for example, was ringing like in a very weird way. So like it would do the first ring and then you would hear a second, which some people say it's because it's been intercepting and listened to. I don't know if they put that amount of effort into it. But like, okay, we gather in the square, which we told us like to gather before the actual thing to like review the last details and everything. And actually we get there and the first thing we see, it's a police car, like right in the middle of the square. And we're like, fuck, they know everything. Right? But then some people still saying, oh no, it's fine. It's just like a public square. You know, it's like, it happens sometimes that the police is there. It's just like, just there to control. No problem. Okay, so we start directing ourselves towards the school. And so our high school is a bit fucked because it has a main building and then it has two other buildings. And the night before, we sent out a message saying, okay, tomorrow we're going to call a plenary session. So like every student is invited to join the last vote in the main building of the school. But be aware that if you do this, you're technically already occupying the school, because we asked to have this plenary session to the headmaster, and he was like, "No, if you do that, you're already against the law," because there were still some COVID regulations and everything. So we were like, "Bring the mask. We're gonna stay outside." So it was already 2022, so like COVID was not as severe. And so like we bring everyone in the fucking courtyard of the big room of the big school building, and it was incredible, bro. It's like the atmosphere you feel like with 1,200 people, like all gather in the same place. Everyone knows what they're doing because that was the specific goal. And so to make it as democratic as possible, we let anyone who wanted to speak and make their point. So both against and in favor of the thing. We spoke as representatives. Even the headmaster spoke, had time to speak. And
Did he knew that you wanted to do this?
At that point, he knew. At
Okay.
that point, he knew. And he also proposed, how do you say, to co-run activities. So like there is this thing which is an alternative to an occupation in which students and professors and a headmaster run the school together for some time. So like also students have a very high voice on what to do, how to structure the day, the activities and everything like that. So that was his counter proposal. And then it came the moment to vote. And of course, strategically, we asked for who was in favor first. Because if you ask who's against first, then people who see other people voting, they might, like the ones in doubt, they might follow along, right? And you want the ones in doubt to follow along the in favor part. So like we said, sit down, everyone. So everyone's seated down. I even have the video. I can show you. It gives me goosebumps every time.
Yeah, I have goosebumps right now, bro.
And like, I was the one to announce the voting. So I was like, okay, so right now, who's in favor, stand up. And like 1,200 people stood up at the same time, like screaming of joy. And that's a moment I cannot forget. You know, like after 2 years of COVID, no social contact. After all that tension that morning, the organization, the discussions about the topics, it was like a dream becoming reality. It was totally amazing.
So 1,200 people all for the occupation. Yeah.
Yeah. And the small minority, which was like 100 people or ish, kind of like that, they just stayed home. They didn't come that day because it was very clear in the message that, like, if you join that thing, you're already occupying. I mean, there were some people against who took part at the votation, and like they voiced their their position against. And the coolest part was that those people at the end, like, so we had one plenary, we almost had a plenary, we had a plenary session every morning to like put on everyone on the same page, set out the plan for the day and everything. And we had one last plenary session on the Saturday morning, so the last one, the conclusion of everything. Those people got to speak again. No one forced them to. They wanted to. And they were almost crying and say thank you to everyone who made this possible, because they completely changed my mind about this.
So after the occupation?
After the occupation, they were the people who were against actually turned out to be in favor.
Damn.
And so this was all to say, why do you think this thing that empowering and making and spreading agency into people is so important? Because, okay, we had everything planned. So very structured day. The keyword for this for this occupation was openness. So like usually it's a very harsh protest. So it's students against professors, against institutions. But we wanted to reverse this concept a little bit. So we actually invited institutions. We invited professors to take part into activities because we wanted to have a sincere and honest conversation between all parts, sitting there and reflecting together on what was happening and what was not going well. Also about like psychology in school, like there were a lot of stress. There was a lot of stress, a lot of panic attacks in my school. People were not feeling well, and the professor were not trained to deal with that, so that they really didn't know what to do. They would even make the people feel worse. So all these kind of things, like how to evaluate a test, why to take certain decisions, and like it was very very beautiful, like to see this exchange of ideas across different positions, right? Same for the politics. Like we actually invited people from outside to come in and say like, what is going on here? Why do we have this work school compulsory project? How should we improve it? Like, and all this sort of things. But as I told you, there were around 40 activities per day, which made the all logistics of it. If you have to add food for almost 1,000 people, where to host them, because students sleep at school for 1 week.
Yeah. So the whole occupation was 1 week.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Monday to Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And like the logistic load was so heavy. Also, we had to keep the school clean, which you imagine with 1,000 students how good it turned out to be. So I was basically running around the whole day, so stressed. I wasn't enjoying a single moment of that thing. Like for the first 3 to 4 days, I was just like devoting all myself to the cause, you know, like for real. And then we fucked up. One night, we totally fucked up.
What happened?
So the occupation was happening during Carnival. So we were like, okay, why don't we host a Carnival party? And so actually, even if during the day, the attendance was very, very high, so like you would have maybe like not 1,000 to 200 students every day, all day, but like around 800 people, which is a lot. Like usually an occupation is done by 56 people. Like it's very, very many fewer students. So we threw this party, but we didn't expect that amount of people to show up. So like we had, apart from the fact that our school is a building from the 1300s, 1200s. So like there are all the frescoes, like all the paintings on the walls. It's like this old school university / high school in Italy, like the stereotypical one. And we had like, I think 2 or 3 dance floors. So like one was in the gym, one was in the main hall, and one was in the first floor. And so we had a lot of music, a lot of people, but then things started to go wrong. So like the police came, they said like, okay, if you don't shut down the music, everything is gonna go to, like, we're gonna enter and we're gonna end this right now. And then actually the panic spread because we didn't know how to fit that many people inside the school. Like you can fit like 800 people awake, but like to actually make them sleep, it's gonna be hard. And also like we were angry because like, I don't know, I think like during the afternoon, not that many people showed up for activities, and then like so many showed up for the evening, which makes totally sense. Like nowadays, I look back to that and I was like, damn. I realized, but I grew so much that evening. So like we didn't know what to do, and like it was almost like a domino. So like everyone knew what to do, knew how to behave and everything, till someone started panicking, and the panic just spread out. So like all the reference group, like the people who were the most responsible, the people who were actually into the organization and knew everything, they didn't know how to behave, and that was immediately reflected by the others. So like all the guys that were there, they started like panicking, and the tension built up. So we didn't know what to do. Like we gathered everyone in the gym, and we started counting ourselves. It was like everyone was quiet. It was a very, very serious moment, and like at that point, I really didn't know what to do, and there were like a couple of friends of mine who were kind of taking over. Um, and like after that, we were like, "Yo, guys, some of you have to go home because we don't know where to fit you," and like yeah, all this kind of stuff. But like there were people underage who had to go home at like midnight, uh, by themselves without their parents knowing. And we basically keep them out of school. A school which was theirs as much as ours. Okay, think about this.
Yeah.
And basically, after this was all done, tension was down. I spent, I think, like 3 or 4 hours with some friends of mine in the toilet of the school, talking and crying and trying to figure out what went wrong, because this was totally not okay. We were trying to make something for the whole community, but almost unconsciously, we stepped over them. We put ourselves a layer on top of them and started giving orders. So started also considering ourselves no more part of the community, but something different, something which was something in a different condition. And that's the thing, the last thing that you want to happen during one of these occupations. So what we reflected about was that during the previous days, every time someone had a question, they naturally came to us and asked it. And as a reflex, involuntary, there was no meta reasoning about that. Like when someone comes to you and asks a question, your first reaction is like give an answer, right? So like they start from like no one should ask you what should I do. You know, like you have no power over people. Like how do you answer that question? So the whole discussion till like 4 a.m. was about how to answer these kind of questions, how to make the the community responsible for itself and not us leading it in a way which also puts us in a situation which we shouldn't be. Like we shouldn't have felt bad that night. It should have been like a completely different thing. Like the whole community should have sat down and take a collective decision, and there shouldn't have been like someone stepping over. So we started answering questions with other questions, which is a very, very simple change, but it completely leverages the hierarchy which we created. So instead of me giving an answer to you, is now us together finding a solution together by asking questions together and reflecting on that topic together. So like everyone, instead of being blindfolded and doing something that someone else told them to, they started to act on their own will, on their own responsibility. And that was the moment in which something clicked. Like for the last couple of days, I wasn't as stressed. People were actually doing things without the need. Like I felt like if I wasn't there, like saying things to people and like taking everything on my shoulders, things wouldn't have gone in the way they were supposed to. Everything would have fallen apart. But that's a fucking bullshit that you tell yourself. It's very natural to have that thought in that position. You're the leader. You're the people actually put you in that position. So you have to be aware enough not to allow this thing to take over. And so like when you actually delegate power and agency to people, like sometimes it will fail you. It's not always gonna happen. You know, it's very ideal that first try everything turns out to be perfect. But even when you fail, and that's very interesting, they will feel like they have failed. It's no more some projects that is not yours which fails and you don't really give a shit about it. It's like you who are doing something which you're responsible for and you fail. So you learn from that experience. It's much more personal. It's much more powerful. And in that way, so on an individual level and both collaborating, community really grows and grows stronger. And then it's no more the idea of someone or a group of people, but it's like all the individuals inside of the group who partake and who give their contribution and do something which someone individually could have never thought about. When like actually different thoughts, different people with experiences and all this diversity comes together, something really, really special has happened. So that's why my goal is to empower people, because I think that's when the real magic happens.
Holy shit. This is such an amazing story, man. This is really crazy. Damn. I think now this is crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
This is a pretty cool story. It's amazing how you, like, this being a leader, and I think this is something, I'm sure, you said you grew a lot on, and it's like, this must be such a heavy situation to, like, be the elected leader for, like, 1,200 people and trying to do it right. Like, you, as you said, you don't want to be the one giving the commands. You want to make it in the best way.
Like, I mean, to this point of my life, if someone asks me the biggest regret I have, it's that night. But at the same time, I feel like if I didn't fail so badly, if I didn't like completely scratch the ground and like felt like shit for those amount of hours, I wouldn't be the person I am right now. So, you know, it's always about how you look at things, how you decide to react.
That you learn.
Yeah.
So you would have wished that you gave everyone the opportunity to decide together and not that you decide who leaves and who stays, or?
Yeah, kind of. I think that would have been the best solution for everyone. Also because if you think about it, another important lesson I learned is that we tend to take life a bit too seriously. And even in that situation in which you think it's a life or death matter, actually if like 800 people stay at school for the night, they will find their way out. Like
they will survive.
They will survive. Yeah. Like, you know, it's not that big of a deal. The real problem there was police and like how to deal with that. But we kind of were used to that up to that point. There was this police car, which was specifically dedicated to us. So it was like one car, also undercover, which was just going around the school very in a suspicious way all the time. Sometimes they would stop, get down and say like, police, what's going on? Is everything all right? They were actually quite collaborative. Like at first there was a bit of, you know, those are the people who can make everything go to hell. So we were a bit on the defensive mode first, but then like we started talking to them. We started explaining the reasons why we were doing that and how we were doing this. and actually we received a lot of support from the police itself. So at least for the individual from the individuals who were there, because at the same time we had a lot of problems. Like that is a moment of like school occupation is a place in which there is basically no rule, and it's a very delicate point of society. So like people who have not the best intentions, let's put it like that, see it as an opportunity to make some mess, make their voice heard, do something. You know?
Yeah, you have to be careful that people don't start like painting on the walls of the school and stuff.
Exactly, but like the students were pretty okay. The people, the real problem was the people outside of the school, and you had to basically like sometimes we had to close the doors, like let everyone inside, because they were actually dangerous people. Like there were people with knives, with tasers, guns. They were throwing like firecrackers and everything. Like, and sometimes we would like close the doors, call the police, and the police wouldn't come, because like they kind of it's beneficial for them if you fail to protect yourself, because like then the whole thing has to be called off. Like if you're no more able to like autonomously prevent those people from coming in, so like having the whole control over the situation, then they have to act, and if they have to go inside the school, then by law it's called off. So like you have to leave, they will make you leave actually. So that was a very, very delicate point in which like, and there is this like double, how do you say, soul in the police, in which like the one-to-one relationship with the policeman was good. We even received support, but the command wanted us to fail because we were doing something illegal and everything. So that's, you understand a lot of things about society and everything during one of those.
Yeah, I can imagine. Damn. I don't even want to ask a question about anything else, but I have one.
Okay, cool.
So I will think a lot about this, but how is this? So the goal you're trying to explain with this is that you want to help people achieve agency, achieve freedom, but also like a kind of responsibility, community. How do you? How is this? Is this connected to your studies, or is this something you try to do in your life, like with Enigma and stuff? Or
I see AI more as a tool. So like, first of all, I think the main reason why one should choose a specific field of study is interest. So like that was the thing, still one of the things which I'm the most interested about. And now now that I'm studying these things, I'm learning arguably one of the most powerful tools that we have right now as humankind. And I think that would be crucial to scale this thought and my goal to as many people as possible. It's like, because on your own, in your, let's say, physical environment, you can do so much, up to like, only so much. And then to actually expand beyond that, I think AI might be an interesting solution to investigate.
okay, how do you? I think it's a pretty good goal, but it's like super hard to think about ways to really like the situation you told me is a really good situation where you try to give people agency and stuff, but it's like it's not the everyday situation,
No,
like not at all.
Right? Yeah. Because like in that situation, you have immediate feedback for what you're doing. So like if you're fucking up something, there's probably gonna be someone who comes up to you and say, "Yo, what are you doing?" So like everyone's trying to keep this place clean. Why are you littering or something like that? In real life, it doesn't happen. And that's a very, very good question. I'm still reflecting on it. So like I can tell you about my short-term goals and projects, which I think I'm always trying to like move a little step closer to that goal, because up to now I don't have a clear solution to that problem. It's a very hard problem. So so one of my next goals is going.
Wait, can you say the problem again? What exactly is the problem you're trying to solve?
So I think that society suffers a lot because people don't feel like they're doing what they should be doing, and there is a lot of frustration. There's a lot of coercion, so like you're forced to do something for mainly for financial reasons, even though like I think that's some kind of societal construct. So like also all those people who say, okay, yeah, I want to work my ass off for 20 years because then I have free time to do what I want. And I'm like, okay, so you have something that you want to do, right? And they're like, yes, yeah, I do. And what is preventing you from doing it right now? And they're like, yeah, well, I mean, I don't have money to do this and to do that. And I'm like, okay, how much money do you need to do this and to do that? I think that like a lot of people prevent themselves from actually doing what they would like to do, because like they have this kind of pressure and need, which is not coming from themselves. Even like when you investigate it far enough, they have no actual reason to be doing what they're doing and not something else, something that they would like to do. You know, that's a very, very cool experiment to do. Like go to some person who's doing something to achieve something else, and you're like, why are you not doing that thing in the first place? And then like sometimes there are good reasons, but most of the times it's just like, oh yeah, no, I have to have a career, I have to have money and stuff to do this, but it's actually not true most of the times. You can find your way there. That's my take on that. And so yeah, I think that is a very, very big problem, because like you find yourself trapped in a life which you don't belong to, and like you start questioning yourself. You're never really happy. You're never free to express yourselves, and like society really benefits when someone is able to give their contribution, like their idea, their uniqueness, which could be like Einstein's relativity theory, from a person keeping the garden tidy and beautiful, so that like when you go to uni, you're inspired. You like you look at the flowers, you smile, you feel good. You know, it's like if you make things worth doing, it totally assumes a different meaning, different dimension to it. It's like think about the meaning of what you're doing. Not only, yeah, I think like finding a meaning in what we're doing is fundamental. And a very good sentence which I like to repeat to myself is that we have time to do everything we want, but nothing more. So like the way you set your priorities, the way you decide to spend your time is most of the times under your control. So like if you want to go to uni, if you want to work, you do those things. And then you can say, oh yeah, I would like to do this, but I don't have time or stuff like that. No, that's not true. You're prioritizing something else.
Okay. Man. So to go like one thought I had about you were saying that you wouldn't that many people follow their goals in the wrong way. Like it's not what you said, but it's like if you like I tried to tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of what
it's
I
like
said. Yeah.
when you have for example the money example, some people try to chase money, but actually they want something else. So and it's not the most optimal way. So they don't follow their goal in the best way. They follow their goal through other ways. Like yeah, they're not following their goal in the most optimal way. They're following their goal in like a way that was told to them by a society or something, and yeah, that's not the best way. So you want to now what's really like is behind this that you want to make the people happier, or is it just intrinsically like
I don't believe in happiness as a goal.
okay?
I think that happiness as a goal is very sterile. That's why I said experience. I actually enjoy being sad
Yes.
and taking that in. Like it's part of the experience. I think like we really have to embrace feelings, and physical suffering is always not pleasant, and it's very very hard to embrace. But like even when you're I don't know, in the cold under the rain, you might have forgotten your gloves. You think that like the universe is it's kind of fighting against you, and you're there alone, wet, drenched to the bone. I think that in that situation, if you still manage to get moved by your condition of suffering, by like how much human you can feel in that situation, I think that is the whole point. That's the key to read life. So I don't want people to be happy. I want people to embrace their condition and try to contribute and to the environment in which they're in the best way they can. Because if you feel at your place, if you feel like you're doing what you should be doing, you're gonna give 2,000% of what you were doing before. And it's gonna be much better because it's gonna be your thing. No one else could have done anything similar to that. Like if you tell me to like, if you give me some instructions and tell me like build a table, and give the same instructions to you, and we're gonna end up building almost the same table. But if you give me the responsibility to build a table for you, first of all, I would like it's gonna be my table. It's gonna be my idea. So like I really want to make this table look good and be the best version of the table as possible, because like I'm gonna be the one who created it. It's gonna be like my unique table. It's not gonna be just a random table. And this applies to math, education. Like I think like if we manage to infuse a bit more meaning into what people do, like the word would extreme benefit. This is basically it. This is yeah. I mean, like as I told you, like the people won't stop like surprising you if you actually leave them the room and like the freedom and the responsibility, because they also have to be responsible for what they're doing, to do something for you. So like I think many people don't trust others enough to delegate, for example, which is a big problem. But actually when you start doing it, when you start trusting people and building the conditions in which that trust is something reasonable to have. So like, of course, you're not gonna meet the first person on the street and like, okay, do this, please, can you do this for me? And like, But actually, like, feeling that not everything depends on you, and that other people have the power to do something wonderful that you could have never thought about. That is very, very life changing, I think.
Nice one. Thank you very much, Cesare. I really, really enjoyed talking to you.
It's a pleasure.
For sure do this again. I'm super interested. Like, I have a lot of questions to ask. I think we will probably also start a little discussion about your goals.
Of course. Yeah.
And yes, I think, this is super interesting. And we will do this again.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you for being here, man. Okay. This has been a Rational Optimization podcast. I hope you learned something. As you may know, I'm trying to make this podcast as good as possible. Like, I'm trying to provide as much value as I possibly can in every episode to you. So today, I'm not asking you for like a 5-star review or anything like this. I'm asking you, could you please, if you have any idea what I can improve to make this podcast, or to make each episode, or to just make this episode, if I would do it again, more valuable to you, can you give me feedback? Like on Spotify, there are those feedback boxes, and on YouTube, you can write a comment. It would be really amazing if you would help me to make this podcast as good as possible. See you in the next one.